Hello, Tech Minds. In this video, we are going to be looking at how to create a virtual machine using command line interface. And secondly, we are going to look at how to add a data disk to a virtual machine using command line interface. So first of all, what is a virtual machine? A virtual machine falls under the infrastructure as a service, which simply means you choose a virtual machine when you need more control over the computing environment than the other services or the other choices offer. So a virtual machine comes with an operating system, storage, networking components, and you will have the capabilities to administer each of these components. So these computing components can be easily scaled up and down per your requirement, and you pay only for what you make use of. Now, when it comes to the disks, to the storage of a virtual machine, we have the OS disks, we have the temporary disks, and we have the data disks. So this lab, the second part of this lab is going to be how to add a data disk to a virtual machine using command line interface. So let me take you to my portal so we can look at how to do the first and the second. So the first is going to be how to create a virtual machine using command line interface. The second will be how to add a data disk to the virtual machine using command line interface. And the third part, we are going to connect to the virtual machine and we are going to initialize the data disk. So the first thing I will do is to create a resource group, knowing too well that a resource group is a container of resources. So all the different resources we are going to create, be it the virtual machine, the IP, the network security group, the data disk, everything that deals with the virtual machine, the components of the virtual machine, they're all going to be on a resource group. So for this lab, all the resources we are going to be creating, we are going to be using command lines. And the command line we are going to use is the internal command line for Azure, which is the cloud share. So I'm going to click on my cloud share. I'm going to load my cloud share. Once I have my cloud share, for the cloud share, we have two shares. We have the power share and we have the bash share. So for this lab, we are going to be making use of the bash command. So the first thing I will do is to clear my interface. So I'm going to use the clear command for bash. And the first thing we are going to do is to create the resource group that is going to hold all the resources. So I wrote down all the commands. So the commands will be added on the description to save you time. So if I go to my Notepad++, the first thing is to create the resource group. So the command to create a resource group is the AZ group create -- location, which is a region. We are going to be using the East US -- the resource -- group. Then we define the name of the resource group. So the name of my resource group is going to be the VM - resource group. So I am going to copy the first command, then I'll go to my cloud share, then I'm going to paste. Once I paste this command, I'll press enter on my keyboard to run the command, and the resource group has been created. So the location, we have the East US. Then for the name, we have the VM - resource group. It has been provisioned successfully. So the next thing we are going to create now is the virtual machine. So for the virtual machine, the second command, which is the Azure VM create, we are creating a virtual machine -- the resource group. We define the resource group for the virtual machine, which we created as the first. The next is to define the name for the virtual machine. So the name for my virtual machine is going to be the Yandtech -VM. Then we are going to define the image for the virtual machine. So it is a -- image. I am going to be creating a virtual machine with an image of Windows 2022 data center. Then I will define the size using the standard _B2S. Then for the public IP address, we have two kinds of public IP address. We have the basic, then we have the standard. So I'm going to be creating the public IP address under the standard, knowing again that in the course of creating a virtual machine, there is an administrative sector where we define the admin name and we define the admin password. So it goes with dash dash admin dash username. I define my username as Yandtech. Then I will define the storage as the standard locally redundant storage. That is command. There are other components that we can add to the command. But for this lab, we are going to end at the level of this. So I am going to copy as well. I'll copy my command and I'll go to my command line interface. I am going to paste and I'm going to press enter on the keyboard. They're going to ask me for the admin password. So I am going to define my password. So after you define the password, they're going to ask you to confirm the password. So once you confirm and you press enter on your keyboard, it's going to start and it's going to be running. It might take like 1 minute for all the different resources to be created. So let's wait for the provisioning to be successful. Then we are going to look at we are going to verify if the virtual machine has been created as defined. And the next thing, we are going to add or attach a data disk to the virtual machine. So deployment succeeded. If you look, you are going to see my location. You are going to see the MAC address. You are going to see the power state showing us VM running. Then the private IP address is 10.0.0.4 coming from a subnet of 10.0.0.0/24. And this is my public IP address that has been defined. Then the resource group and then the zone. So if I go to the portal, let me minimize the cloud share a little bit. Then if I refresh the resource group, we are going to see the resource group that we created using command line. So if I click on this resource group, we are going to see the different components attached to. We're going to see the different resources under this virtual machine. We are going to see the virtual machine, the disk. This is the OS disk. Remember, we said there are three types. We have the OS disk, we have the temporary disk, and we have the data disk. So the OS disk is persistent, the temporary disk is not persistent, and the data disk is persistent as well. So we have the public IP address, we have the network interface, we have the virtual network, but as of now, there is no data disk. So if I click on the virtual machine, you are going to see the virtual machine has been created. This is my public IP. This is my virtual network. Everything has been defined. Now, if you look under the disk, you're going to see the data disk showing 0. So no data disk has been added. So the next thing we are going to do is to look at how to add a data disk to our virtual machine. So I am going to clear the interface and I'm going to copy the third command. And the third command is to attach or to create a new data disk or to add an existing data disk. But since as we are doing it for the first time, we are creating. So it's going to be Azure VM disk attached. Then we define the resource group. We define the name of the virtual machine we want to attach or we want to create the data disk to. This is my virtual machine, and we are going to define the name of the disk. So dash name, I define it as my disk. Then we are going to define the size we are giving to the data disk. So I am defining 30 GB. Then we are going to define the SKU, which is the standard locally redundant storage, and dash new. The dash new simply means we are creating a new data disk. So I'm going to copy. I'll go to my command line and I'm going to paste. And I'll press enter on my keyboard. It's running. So we're going to give it some few seconds for it to be successful. And when we have everything as we are seeing on the screen, it simply means the disk has been added. We have the $ back. So the disk has been added. So for us to verify, now we are done with the level of the command line. So I am going to close the cloud share. So if I refresh my virtual machine, under the overview section, if I scroll down to where we have disk, I'm going to see data disk 1. So the data disk has been added. On the left side under settings, if I click on disk, you see we have our data disk, my disk, and the size defined was 30, right? So we have succeeded in creating a resource group using command line. We have succeeded in creating a virtual machine running Windows Server 2022 data center. We have succeeded in adding a data disk to the virtual machine. So the next thing we are going to do, we are going to connect to this virtual machine, and we are going to look at how to initialize the virtual machine. So for us to connect to the virtual machine, I'll go to the overview, then I'll click on connect, I'll click on the drop arrow, I'll click on the connect. Under the connect, we have the public IP. I can copy the public IP and I can use mobile XTEM to connect, but I am going to download the RDP file. RDP stands for Remote Desktop Protocol. It is a protocol that helps to connect remotely to a Windows VM. So I am going to click on RDP with a port number of 3389. I'm going to click on it to download. It has been downloaded. So if I go to my library, under download, we are going to see the RDP file. So I am going to open it. Right, this is it. So I'll click on connect. I'll click on connect. I'll click on more choices, and I'll go to use a different account. Then I'm going to put the name Yandtech. That is my username for the virtual machine. Then I'm going to define the password. Then I'll click on OK. Once you see this, it simply means everything is good. Then I'll click on yes. And there we go. This is the virtual machine. So it's now loading the profile for Yandtech. So it's setting things up. All right, there we go. So now we have successfully connected to our virtual machine running Windows Server 2022, the latest version. So once we are connected, it's going to load the server manager. The server manager manages everything under our Windows server. So let's wait for some few seconds for the server manager to load. Once the server manager has been loaded, I'll go ahead and I'll click on the library. So I'll scroll down, I'll go ahead and I'll click on the library just for us to verify. So I'll click on the library, I'll click on expand. Oh, there we go. I'll click on expand, I'll click on this PC. Under this PC, we have the C drive, which is the OS disk. Then we have the D drive, which is a temporary storage. Right now, there is no data disk. Now we are going to, in as much as we have added a data disk, we have attached a data disk to the VM, but that data disk has not been initialized. Remember, we added a 30 gig storage for the data disk. So now how do we initialize a data disk when it has been added to a Windows virtual machine? So for us to do that, I am going to click on this PC, then I'll right click, I'll click on manage. So when you click on manage, it is going to load. It is going to load. Since as it is the Windows server that functions with the help of the server manager, that controls everything. Then I'm going to minimize the library. I'm going to minimize the library and I'm going to open the disk management through the server manager. So how can we do that? Under the server manager, you click on tools. Under tools, you click on computer management. You click on computer management. There we go. Under computer management, let me expand. Under computer management, you click on disk management. Now, once you click on disk management, you are going to see this box telling us to initialize disk. This is a disk, the data disk we added. So this is a disk 2. You must initialize a disk before logical disk manager can access it. So go ahead and click on OK. Once you click on OK, you see this is a disk showing us disk 2 with a size of 29.98, approximately 30. And right now it is showing unallocated. That's why when you go to your disk PC, it's giving you just the disk C and the disk D. So for us to initialize this, I'm going to click and I'm going to click on the 29 where we have the unallocated. Then I will right click and I'll click on new simple volume. Now where we are going to set everything, we're going to set the file system, we are going to set the name for the new volume, then we are going to set the drive letter as well. So you go ahead and you click on next, next. For the drive letter, I'm going to do Y for Yandtech. Then I'll click on next. We have the file system where we have the NTFS, we have the FAT, and we have the new one known as the REFS. But as of now, many systems will be having the NTFS, which stands for New Technology File System. Then for the name, I am going to change it to New Volume, and I'm going to put it as Yandtech. I'm going to put it as Yandtech DD for data disk. Then I'll click on Next, and I'll click on Finish. So it's going to format the disk, and the disk has been activated. So right now, if I go ahead and I close this page, and I scroll down to bring up my library. I scroll down to bring up my library. So let me expand now. Let me do it again. Let me just the library. So let me search for File Manager. I'll search for File Explorer. So let me expand. Search for File Explorer. There we go. So if I go ahead and click on this PC, now you see we have our data disk. So in your data disk now, which is your persistent storage, you can save your stuff here and they'll be there for a long until you choose to delete. So if I go ahead to create a folder, I right click and I go to new and I go to folder and I define the name as data. You see my folder has been created. This folder has been created under the data disk. So that will be it for the video of today. So in summary, this video was to show you how to create a virtual machine running Windows Server 2022 using command line interface. There are many ways to interact, to create resources, to manage resources in Azure. We can either make use of the portal, we can either make use of command line interface, either PowerShell or BashShell. And the second thing was for us to add a data disk to the virtual machine using command line interface. And after that, we had to connect to that virtual machine and initialize the data disks. So for more interesting videos, my tech minds, do subscribe to the channel and do click on the notification button to receive more interesting and tech skill videos that will help you to improve yourself and to be skillful. Thank you and stay blessed.